the Zone of Silence, Mexico. There are a number of places around the world where strange electronic phenomena take place, but there's perhaps none as peculiar and legendary as the Mapimi Silent Zone in the state of Durango in Mexico. Also simply known as the Zone of Silence, or La Zona del Silencio in Spanish, it's a remote area of the Chihuahuan Desert of Mexico. Covering an area approximately 1,500 square miles or 3,800 square kilometers, it's sparsely populated, arid landscape that's covered with unique rock formations and desert flora and fauna. It's just as you'd expect from a stretch of desert, but what makes this one different is the number of accounts of electromagnetic disturbances and inexplicable occurrences over the years. Probably the most famous of the peculiar effects within the Zone of Silence is its ability to disrupt radio signals and communication equipment. Many have reported experiencing a complete loss of radio contact when traveling through the area, but no one's entirely sure why. Some theories have suggested these disruptions are the result of high levels of magnetic and mineral deposits in the region, but there have also been claims of paranormal or extraterrestrial activity too. Only adding to the more out-of-this-world solutions is that there have also been reports of strange, luminous objects in the sky over the region too, and while these events are far less common than the electrical interference, they too are yet to be satisfactorily explained. As such a remote region, there have been extended investigations into what's causing these strange events, but it's hoped that one day it could be a sign that it's geologically and environmentally a special place, and that one could become very important in the future when we fully understand it. The Dancing Forest, Russia. Positioned on the Curonian Spit, which is a sandbank that reaches out into the Baltic Sea in Russia, there's an unusual formation that's baffled scientists and captured the imaginations of visitors. Known as the Dancing Forest, or Lesnoy Tanets in Russia, it's a large group of trees that have grown in strange and completely unexpected ways. They are all pine trees, which should normally grow tall and straight, but in this place they take on bizarre and often whimsical shapes. Their trunks can spiral like corkscrews, and their branches seem to contort in odd and almost surreal ways. Some appear as though they're bowing or dancing, and the forest floor is covered within mysterious shadows, which create a hauntingly beautiful ambiance. This isn't the only forest in the world where trees are known to grow in peculiar ways, but most others have been simple to explain. This dancing forest, though, the exact cause continues to elude researchers. There are a few theories that have been put forward to explain it. The most popular is that these deformities have been caused by the strong and persistent coastal winds that sweep across the Curonian Spit, shaping the trees over time. The sandy soil and unique microclimate of the region may also play a role in how this interacts with trees, but this would normally be expected to cause each of the trees to grow in a similar way. Those in the dancing forest are different from one another, so there must be another factor that's influencing their behavior at work. Number 11. The Devil's Kettle, Minnesota. The Judge C.R. Magny State Park in Minnesota is a beautiful region of protected natural beauty, but while it's popular with locals for the hiking trails and camping, the Devil's Kettle, Minnesota. The Judge C.R. Magny State Park in Minnesota is a beautiful region of protected natural beauty, but while it's popular with locals for the hiking trails and camping, it's most famous for a large waterfall called the Devil's Kettle. Not just because it itself is a stunning feature, but because there's an enduring mystery surrounding the water that passes over it. It's on the Brule River that flows through the park, but just before it reaches the waterfall, around half of the water volume cascades into a deep, massive hole referred to as the kettle. The remaining half continues to flow over the waterfall and continue as a river beneath. The mystery then is what actually happens to the water that falls into the kettle. There have, over the years, been countless attempts to figure this out, including conducting dye tests, dropping GPS trackers into it, and even throwing objects like logs and ping pong balls into the kettle, in the hope that they'll emerge somewhere else. To their dismay, though, all of these objects vanish without a trace, something that's led to rumors and legends of a series of vast underground tunnel network and hidden caves. What makes things even stranger is that just a bit further down, the river flow significantly increases, which suggests that virtually all of the missing water does eventually return. But none of the objects, dyes, or trackers are known to have re-emerged, so it must be taking a convoluted route to get there, one that with current technology we're unable to fully chart. Al Nazla, Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is home to some of the most pristine and stunning desert environments in the world. But while we now fully understand how most of these structures form, there's one place that continues to mystify. Around 31 miles or 50 kilometers to the south of the Tema Oasis is what's known as the Al Nazla Rock, which, made of sandstone and around 20 feet high and 30 feet wide, stands perfectly upright despite weighing several tons. This would be unusual at the best of times, but to make things even stranger, the massive stone is split in two with such precision that it is nearly symmetrical gap down the center. The accuracy of this split has led some to suggest that it must be the result of human intervention or advanced ancient technology. But no definitive evidence of human involvement has been found, and the exact cause of this impressive formation remains a subject of debate. Geologists generally believe that Al Nazla's unique split is the result of natural processes, primarily the stress-induced fracture of sandstone. Over millions of years, forces such as tectonic activity, erosion, and weathering have acted upon the sandstone, causing it to crack along its natural fault lines. The precise split is simply a fluke from the combination of unique properties of the rock and the slow, patient action of natural forces. Still, it's hard to believe that this is purely natural, and not everyone is convinced. Al Nazla has become a destination for explorers, geologists, and curious travelers wanting to see this firsthand. And it looks as if it could fall over at any moment, despite having remained upright for centuries. Being in a region that's so rich in history too, with archaeological sites that date back thousands of years, such as ancient rock carvings and inscriptions, it's also likely that the split stone played a role in ancient rituals or ceremonies. But this is also still to be proven. Tabby Star. Recent advances in technology have allowed us to look out to the stars in ways that have never been possible before. But the more we do so, the more we discover places in the universe that defy conventional understanding. One way that's used to determine whether there are planets orbiting distant stars is to measure the amount of light that's being emitted. And if there are moments when it dims, it could be a sign there's an object temporarily blocking it. Using this technique on our sun would see its light dim by a few percent when the largest planet, Jupiter, moves in front of it. But researchers have discovered a star where the light differential is far greater than this, raising the question of what could possibly be big enough to have such an effect. Tabby Star, which is officially known as KIC 846-2852, is in the constellation Cygnus and around 1,400 light-years away from Earth. It was first observed as part of NASA's Kepler Space Telescope mission, which monitored thousands of stars in search of exoplanets by measuring their light curves or brightness variations. But while some stars exhibit slight dips in brightness caused by transiting planets, Tabby's star showed dips of up to 20% or more, which is a significant change. The unusual and erratic nature of the dimming led to various theories and captured the imagination of scientists and the public. Some of the potential explanations for this dimming include massive comet swarms, asteroid belts, and even alien megastructures known as Dyson spheres, which could be constructed by advanced civilizations to harness a star's energy. The idea of alien megastructures, however exciting, was met with skepticism from the scientific community though, and astronomers and astrophysicists worked to try to understand the phenomenon. Further observations with ground-based telescopes have now led to the likely answer being that the dimming of Tabby's star is most likely caused by a cloud of dust and debris. But still, the exact origin and nature of this material remain uncertain. The Richat structure, Mauritania. The Richat structure, which is often referred to as the Eye of the Sahara, is a huge geological formation that's deep within the remote desert of Mauritania in West Africa. When seen from above, the structure appears as a massive circular depression measuring around 25 miles or 40 kilometers in diameter. The formation consists of concentric rings of alternating sedimentary rock layers, with the innermost ring layer containing older rocks and the outer ring comprised of younger deposits. From the ground level, it's so large that it's almost impossible to even realize that you're within a structure at all, and the only clues you'll see are occasional shifts in color or types of rock. At first, this was assumed to be an impact crater from a meteorite that had struck the Earth from space, but scientists have proven that it is instead an example of a geological feature known as a dome or an anticline. The structure was therefore formed by the slow, uplifting movement of the Earth's crust over millions of years, which caused the rocks to bend and fold into this distinctive circular shape that we see. There is a problem with this explanation though, and that's the bullseye. The central depression has puzzled scientists and geologists for years, as it was originally thought to be the result of erosion, with the action of the wind and water gradually wearing away the rock layers. Recent research though has shown that this isn't enough to account for its shape and its size, and that the central eye may instead have formed as the result of volcanic and hydrothermal activity, followed by subsequent collapse and erosion. This is all yet to be proven though, so far more work is needed to fully understand what is arguably one of the most impressive natural formations on the planet, and one that's so otherworldly that it's been proposed as a potential site for testing Mars rovers, due to its resemblance to the Martian landscape. The Sargasso Sea, Atlantic Ocean. There is much that we still have to learn about the oceans around the world, with research showing that while we once may have believed to be giant masses of swirling and mixing water, are actually distinctly separate formations with vastly different temperatures, salinity levels, and oxygen levels. As an example of one of these is the Sargasso Sea, a place that, despite being known about for centuries, is still somewhat of a mystery. Located in the North Atlantic Ocean, it's known for its cobalt blue waters and vast expanses of golden brown floating seaweed known as sargassum, covering an estimated area of 1.4 million square miles, or over 4 million square kilometers. The Sargasso Sea is unlike typical seas and oceans in that it lacks any defined coastlines and is instead surrounded by four powerful ocean currents: the North Atlantic Current to the north, the Canary Current to the east, the North Equatorial Current to the south, and the Antilles Current to the west. These currents form a nearby stationary vortex known as the North Atlantic Subtropical Gyre, which traps floating debris and seaweed within its boundaries. The most visible feature of the sea is the sargassum seaweed, which forms dense floating mats on the sea's surface. These growths provide a vital habitat for a wide range of marine life, including fish, turtles, and various species of invertebrates, with the sargassum seaweed itself being adapted to this unique environment, with gas-filled bladders that help it stay buoyant. The sea is also known for its role as a breeding ground for several species of migratory marine animals, such as the Atlantic eel. European and American eels, all as a part of their life cycles, spawn in the Sargasso Sea, with their larvae drifting along ocean currents before eventually making their way back to the continental coastlines, and then returning to the sea once they've matured to repeat the process all over. With so much life within it, the Sargasso Sea is hugely important to the world's ecosystem, from oxygen production to the lives of countless species. It's our lack of scientific understanding of it that's becoming a problem, because it's not exactly clear how it formed, how it continues to exist, or which structures are vital to its survival. It's making it more difficult to understand the impact that human activity is having on it, and how to further prevent damage. It, for example, contains the North Atlantic Garbage Patch and has troubling levels of plastic pollution within it, as well as being a place where plastic-eating microbes have been discovered. Further knowledge will help limit the buildup of this pollution, but could also, it's hoped, help develop ways to tackle similar issues elsewhere in the world.